about to embark on another canoe adventure, and our current location is somewhere in central Oregon. Well, this is the John Day River, that's the Clarno Bridge. Anyway, we're going to give ourselves 10 days to complete a 70-mile journey, which should be easy going, but the current flow of the river is a little below the minimum of what's recommended for a canoe float. Now, at the time of filming down in Northern California, they're getting flooded out from a huge storm that's passing through. And we are getting some of that slop in the form of rain and wind up as far north as we are. Now, in addition to rocks and rapids, one of the potential perils we have to keep in mind is the fact the John Day flows from the south to the north, but there's a lot more down to the south. So we have to be careful of any potentially rising water levels that could be dangerous. We have to keep that in mind.
Going to be a very short day for us today. In fact, I think we've only just put in about 3 miles, if even that. Well, there's a couple reasons for that. One is we had to drive to get to our put in place, and then we had to do all the packing of the canoe. But also, Clarno Rapids is coming up at about, I think it's mile 4.5 or so. And we wanted to avoid that today because we're going to be portaging around it. And we wanted to make sure that we did that earlier in the day so we have plenty of time. Well, Cricket decided that she was going to help set up the tent, so you can see she's being very helpful.
Time for the grill. Over there. Over there. Jeez, that's awesome.
Probably be getting half of mine too.
Oh, I'll be there to assist. I'm sure the little dog as well. Oh,
God, that's huge.
That's awesome. That's what it is.
At about the 4.5 mile mark, and I was thinking that I heard a jet overhead, but then it kept going and going. So I think Clarno Rapids are just right ahead, and we're going to try and avoid that. We're going to see if we can line the canoe, but otherwise it's going to be a portage. In a lightweight kayak, one may uncomfortably bounce their way through these rapids, but in a heavyweight rig loaded for a long trip, only disaster is to be expected. These shallow rapids are both a minefield and a maze. How the hell are we gonna do this?
Our plan is to portage some of our stuff, make the boat a little lighter, and then try and line it down the right-hand side of these rapids and hopefully still have it at the end. I'm getting too old for this, Cricket. Wilms has found some high ground to travel on. She's not just a pretty face. Amy and Cricket have been fumbling around on the boulders.
I thought maybe taking a game trail further at higher elevation might be a good idea, but I just don't think there was a good option. It's just all the way around. That's the plan. Let's get to work.
Well, so far.
So far. Come on, this way, Cricket, this way. All right, well, that went better than I thought it would.
Yeah, we still got the canoes.
Still got some rapids up ahead, though.
The ropes are very long.
Yeah.
Get confusing to know which is front, which is back, and then you drop one in the drink.
Okay, here. Cricket, this way, come on. This way, Cricket, up here. Good job, Mr. Foreman. I never doubted you for a second.
I don't know about that. I'm sure there was plenty.
They don't really look that intimidating from this angle, but I'm glad we did what we did because I think it could have been a bit of a disaster going down that in the canoe. It was a lot of work, but like I said, I think it was worth it. Well, we've got another set of rapids to tackle. I believe it's lower Clarno rapids. And just because we got through those big ones doesn't mean that everything's gonna go okay. So we're picking our line, making a strategy, and hopefully all goes well.
Well, that worked. I see my fishing rods are getting smashed to bits.
I was mentally prepared for the rapids and doing a lot of portaging or lining or whatever, but this has been kind of extensive. It just keeps going and going, and I guess that's our fault because this is low water. We got a fully packed canoe, and you know, if it was just me and Gav, we'd probably still keep going, we'd be doing it, but this one over here does not know the agenda. She's been trying to hop in the water and get to Gav when he's lining the canoe, and then I'm having to carry stuff, and it's just a lot. It's like having a toddler with you, a very, very willful toddler.
here in this campsite here, we've just got so many wolf spiders all over the place. It's an infestation. And then we've got this big ferocious looking specimen getting around the place, and you can see those really long pedipalps he has up front, which sort of indicates to me he might be a male trapdoor spider, perhaps out looking for girls. I'm taking a little time out this morning to get some intel on the horrors that we have before us. Wilms and Cricket late yesterday afternoon went up into the higher country, and they could see there's at least another mile of rock gardens and shallow water, so we know it's going to be miserable. Now, the water at its current flow means that we have basically an impenetrable field of boulders. We can line it through, but paddling through, we're constantly getting hooked up or hitting rocks. And this canoeing is a little like overlanding. You don't want to smash your vehicle, so we have to take it slow. It is frustrating, but we just have to deal with it. Now, there are little areas that you could run through with a canoe down there, but notice the flow of the current sends you straight down into rocks. All right, so there's not going to be much paddling on this stretch, just a lot of pain.
There doesn't seem to be a perfect solution to how to get around these rapids, so what we're going to do is we're going to divide up the stuff. You've probably seen that we got a lot of gear. So half of it's going to stay in the canoe for ballast, and the other half we're portaging it about maybe a little bit more than a quarter mile down below the rapids where we can pick it up.
I was a little worried we'd be overweight with Cricket on board, but she's very insistent. Can't argue with the Jack Russell. We're ready to launch. After my speech on sensibilities and caution, I find myself flushing all that down the dunny and heading off in a much lightened vessel to shoot some rapids. Even so that the shallow gravel bars are scraping the bottom of the boat and rocks are deflecting the craft from its intended line of attack, usually straight into an oncoming boulder.
So this has been a bit of a challenge going over all these kind of small rapids and the really shallow bits. We did this to ourselves. It is off season, and the water level is very low, very low. I think the minimum recommendation for canoes is 300 CFS, and it's not that. So we just got to power through it and do the best we can.
So we have that section out of the way. We've got probably close to 500 feet of easy paddling before it all looks like it's going to start again. awesome. Hey, we nearly ended up in the drink.
Oh.
Can't guarantee this will end well.
Gotta love how today Gav was saying, all right, we gotta focus, we gotta put at least 10 miles behind us today, we really gotta cover some ground. And this is the second time we've stopped for a fish.
Oh. Now we got him. Whoa. Hey. Oh! Cricket's on the drink of the fish. Look at that. I can't get that hook in. There we go. Hey, you heard of sheepdogs, cattle dogs, and then there's cricket. What do you reckon, cricket? Have a sniff. Have a sniff. All right, I'll let him go. Oh. Oh, look at that. 6 pounds easy. Now we put him right up next to the lens. He's going to be an 8-pounder. That's just the way it works. Gee. I think somebody's enthusiasm for fishing could be classified as a problem.
These burrs are absolutely terrible.
Christ, dog. Although I've been catching mainly the smallmouth bass, this specimen here, I don't know if you call it a whitefish or it's a sucker or what it is, but that's our guy.
Let it give it a chance. I'm sorry. We had promised ourselves that we were going to put in at least 10 miles, like 7 if things got really tough. Well, here we are, it's just over 5 miles, but we could not resist this campsite. That and somebody took a little bit too much time fishing. Yeah, it did all right on the plywood, huh?
Mm-hmm. I think I'd be embarrassed to tell you how many rods I've brought with me on this trip in this little bag of mine, because if I told you it was 4, the average angler is going to look at me, shake their head and just say, that's not adequate. Well, I have another. Summer got this for Christmas for me many years ago. I was somewhat resistant to the idea, but it bags up into a little box like this. It's a tenkara rod, and I do believe the technique originated in Japan, but it folds out like such. There's no reel, very lightweight. You tie your line to the very tip, and then you have a leader, and then you have a fly. So you do have only a limited range from your fishing position, but it is a lot of fun and very effective. Oh. Oh, another bass for you, Cricket. Cricket, I'm worried about your mental health. Oh, just about both in. All three of us ended up in the drink then. Me, fish and Cricket. So at this little pool here, we've got quite a steep drop off. So on the end of the line, I've got like a little sinking nymph. And that's what we're doing, letting it sink, float along the bottom, a few little tweaks and twists, and they're biting. Cricket falls in and then pretends she's having a drink. Punishing that fish.
I'd say the tenkara rod does pretty well.
It's all right, eh? Oh, Cricket sleeping with you tonight. Look how muddy she is. Fish, go! Get your foot off its head. God. Hey. The complex nature of the geology found within these canyons is not just beyond the scope of this film, but also the knowledge of its creators. One striking feature quite common along the waterway are the basalt columns adorning the walls. Basalt is a volcanic rock that has cooled relatively quickly, usually with the help of water, creating a dense, igneous dark rock as the crystals within have had little time to grow. In the case of these structures, the cooling process has caused the rock to crack as it shrinks, drawing the contents inward and sculpting these near uniform, not always hexagonal columns. Well, I think you can tell from the state of the camp that we obviously capsized today, but the fact that we have all of our stuff here means that things went remarkably well. I still have a wife, still have a dog, and I think we're down to 1 tripod out of 3. We lost the 2 expensive ones, but other than that, everything was accounted for. It was quite a catastrophe, and none of us were in a position to be able to document the event. So you're just going to have to take our word for it. But we did smash our boat, however, it still floats. So that's a bonus. There's a lot to be smiling about, and we salvaged our wine.
I am really going to need that.
Well, when life throws a curveball at you and things don't go as planned, and sometimes you can get a little down, there's nothing like a nice hot cup of tea and a bowl of noodles to make everything good again.
There's also wine. Wine's good too.
Oh yeah, they'll come later for me, but Wilms is already sinking some.
Don't say sink.
Ah, that's the bad one. Yeah, don't want to use the word sink. Well, today's catastrophe began when we tackled a rapid that we should have taken a little more seriously. Now, we had our line picked, and the current had other ideas and sent us straight into the middle of a rock. And then when we tried to squirrel our way around it, the current took the back of the canoe, swung it around broadside to the rock, and just sunk us. Just sunk us.
It did, and it's kind of a blur to me, but I remember at one point, Cricket kind of clinging onto the canoe, and so I hoisted her up, but then something happened. I must have slipped, and I went under the canoe and next to a rock, and I was just, there was a moment there, a few seconds, where I thought, this is it, this is the end of me. But somehow I got back up. I didn't want to let go because I knew that the current was going to carry me downstream, and I just had these visions of me being pinned by my back to a rock and not being able to get out because the current felt that strong. And yeah, it was a bit intense.
Was that when the canoe was coming towards you to squash you?
Yep. And then the rock was right here, the canoe was right here, and I was here, and then somehow got sucked under.
And all our stuff, like once the canoe sunk, all our stuff's crammed in quite tight. Just up and out, and just started floating on down the river. We had the cool box going down the river. We had my wilderness equipment pack going down the river with my wallet, all my identification,
yep,
keys to the disco, all floating down the river. And we've got this boat that somehow hasn't sunk, and trying to move it through the current in deep water. You couldn't touch the ground. We were in a big hole.
Yeah, it was deep.
Yeah. And then somehow we get this bloody boat to the shore, and then we've still got a few possessions came with us. I don't know how.
I remember I grabbed Cricket, and I grabbed the nylon off of some bag, and I just, my life jacket was there, and I just, everything, pulled ashore, dropped her off, tried to come back and grab what I could. But it's amazing how well our stuff fared.
Oh, crazy. Because this canoe's full of water. So like this is a 17 and a half foot canoe full of water. So it weighs near on a metric ton. Trying to empty that water out, and then we had to pull it up a little bit on shore, empty a bit more out, pull it up on shore until we could empty the whole thing out. What gear we still had, we threw on shore, and then whoosh, then I had to go down solo.
Yep, Gavin was a bit heroic, just hopped in the canoe and went and got the rest of the stuff. Well,
somehow we still had a paddle hanging around. That's an amazing thing. Otherwise it would have been like Gollum out of Lord of the Rings. But yeah, down we went, and the one that was, the piece of luggage that was heading downriver the fastest was Cricket's. So my plan was to go down there and grab Cricket's luggage first, and then work my way back. And then Summer was swimming in for the cool box. Cricket joined me. She came down on the riverside. I picked her up. And I think, all in all, we lost a couple of dromedary water bags. We lost my GoPro Hero 4 with the little Jobu tripod on it, and then we lost the 2 expensive tripods. But
Amazing. The dry bags held up so well. Everything within the dry bags was good. Our Cotopaxi bag, which has most of our food, like I expected all of that to be sodden, but the stuff inside was, except for a few casualties, it was good. God, what else? I mean, the dry bag that we had, the XA30, our main camera in, that just floated downstream, didn't get wet. It's filming here right now.
Yeah.
The water containers did okay.
Yeah, we retrieved almost all of our gear,
but we
all in good order.
Went into action straight away. I mean, as soon as I could catch my breath, like we were just go, go, go.
Yeah, that was a good thing, because when you get into a shit scenario, sometimes you can panic and it's just like all beyond you. But like Summer was nearly drowning with cricket. She nearly got slammed. Well, she did. She got slammed between the canoe and a rock, but under she went. She threw cricket in first, under, and then once we got to shore, there's none of this, we're panicking a little bit. It's just woof, doing jobs. And then instead of like calling it quits and camping there and stuff, we just got back on the horse.
That's what you have to
made
do.
our way down. Yeah. And that's the real adventure. I mean, it was shit.
Do what needs to be done when it needs to be done, and that's how you get through this shit.
Yeah, I don't recommend it to anybody. I don't say go out in there and tip a canoe. You don't want to, but, you know. One thing about this John Day River, though, it is an adventure. Even though we probably shouldn't be on it, the water levels are too low. All it is rock gardens, but, you know, we're here.
One quote that has stuck with me for a long time came from Tim Cahill, a travel writer, is that adventure is physical and emotional discomfort recollected in tranquility. So, yeah. At this tranquil moment, we are definitely having an adventure.
Yeah, I don't know if it's that tranquil at the moment.
No, but we'll look back on this in about 5 weeks and go, wow, that was a hell of an adventure.
I'd say 5 years. We'll look back on it in 5 years.
Once the trauma wears off.
I'm ready for bed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.